In this video, we'll cover the concept of slope of a line. When you see a line, how would you describe it to someone? I'm going to draw two lines on the screen. One's going to go through the point, let's say 0, -1, and 1, 0. And maybe one's going to go through 0, -3, and 1, 0. So when I look at those two lines, one is more steep than the other. Think about if that line was representing a mountain that I was climbing up, right? The one that is flatter has a lower steep, but the one that is more vertical has a higher steep. And so we use this term called slope to denote the steepness of a line. And this occurs in real life. We can think about the steepness of a roof, right? If you had to replace your roof, they're concerned with what they call the pitch of the roof, which is actually its slope. Or for road construction, you're concerned with the grade of a road, that is how steep the road is. So slope can be thought of as pitch, incline, grade, something like that. So you're just thinking about the numerical steepness of the line. Well, how do we measure that mathematically? It is actually defined to be the ratio of the vertical change as compared to the horizontal change between 2 points on a line. So if x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2 are 2 points on a non-vertical line, the slope is defined as the letter m, which is equal to the ratio of vertical change divided by horizontal change, which is equal to, well, the vertical change is really the change in the y values of the 2 points, so that is y sub 2 minus y sub 1, divided by the horizontal change is the change in the x values, which would be x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So this quotient is going to give us a numerical measure of the steepness of the line. It is also often referred to as rise divided by run. I have an example where we want to find the slope of a line through each pair of points. Part A is to find the slope between -2, 5 and 3, 0. To find the slope, I like to designate the points as, the first one is x sub 1, y sub 1, and then 3, 0 will be x sub 2, y sub 2. Then our slope is going to be the rise of a run, or vertical change, divided by horizontal change, which is change in y, so y sub 2 minus y sub 1, divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Substituting these four values in, we get 0 minus 5, divided by 3 minus -2. 0 minus 5 is -5. 3 minus -2 would be 3 plus 2, or 5. So -5 divided by 5 is equal to -1. So if we actually plotted those 2 points just to get a visualization of what that looks like, -2, 5 is in quadrant 2, and then 3, 0 is on the x-axis. So notice that this line is going down from left to right, which is actually represented by the negative value of the slope. So it's going down from left to right. And then -5 divided by 5 means that the graph is actually going down 5 units and then right 5 units to get to another point on the line. Or -1 is equivalent to -1 divided by 1, which means if we go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, we get to another point on the graph of the line. Example B asks us to find the slope of the line through 1, 5, and 3, 5. So we can label these as x sub 1, y sub 1 is 1, 5, and x sub 2, y sub 2 is 3, 5. Therefore, the slope being the y2 minus y1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1 gives us 5 minus 5 divided by 3 minus 1, which is 0 divided by 2, or just 0. So the slope is 0. Let's think about what that means. This would mean that the slope of the line, like the steepness, is measured as 0, a numerical measure of 0. So if we graph 1, 5 and 3, 5, note that this is a horizontal line. And so the slope of a horizontal line is 0 because, think about it, there is no rise to the graph. If we think about rise divided by run, there's no rise, but there is run between the 2 points. Just keep that in mind, that a slope of 0 corresponds to a horizontal line. And then we have the points -3, 2, and 3, 7. Again, we can label these as x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1, again, this is a formula that you will need to be able to commit to memory, would give us 7 minus 2 divided by 3 minus -3. 7 minus 2 is 5 divided by 3 plus 3, or 6. So this slope of 5, 6 is a positive slope. When we graph these points, -3, 2 is in the quadrant 2, 3, 7 is in quadrant 1. And when we graph them, notice that our line is rising from left to right. It's going up. So a positive slope corresponds to a line that's going up in the positive direction. And a slope of 5, 6 means that between these 2 points, I can rise 5 units and run 6 units to get to another point on the graph of the line. Now the last pair of points we have is -1, 4 and -1, -3. So labeling these x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. We get our slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. -3 minus 4 divided by -1 minus -1. -3 minus 4 is -7. -1 minus -1 is -1 plus 1, or 0. The -7 divided by 0 is undefined. Remember, we cannot divide by 0. So what type of line would have an undefined slope? We think about plotting -1, 4 and -1, 3, or -3. Those 2 points lie on a vertical line through -1. And if we think about the definition between rise divided by run, there is rise between these 2 points, but there's no run. And so a line with undefined slope is actually a vertical line. And I typically say if you can walk on it, it has slope. So think about a mountain that is slanting downward or slanting upward, or is a flat mountain, right? I can walk on all of those, but I cannot walk on a vertical line, so it has no slope that we can define. And then the last example I have is to find the slope given a graph. And I have a graph that goes through the points -5, -5, 0, -1, and 5, 3. So if I want to find the slope of this line, I'm going to find the slope between 5, 3, and 0, -1. I need to identify any 2 points on the graph of the line, label them x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2. So my slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1, which is -1 minus 3 divided by 0 minus 5. And that's what? -4 divided by -5 There's no common factor, but note that a negative divided by negative is a positive 4/5. And notice that our slope, or the line rather, is rising, it's going up, and that should correspond to a positive slope of 4/5. Now I want to do a couple of other things. Let's find the slope. Let's say we wanted to use the points 5, 3 and -5, -5. Would I get the same value? So my slope there, y2 minus y1, would be -5 minus 3 divided by -5 minus 5. So this is -8 divided by -10. And there's a common factor of -2, which is 4/5. So the slope is the same. And what if I use 0, -1, and -5, -5? So my slope is the change in y, so -5 minus -1 divided by -5 minus 0. So -5 plus 1 is -4 divided by -5 minus 0 is -5, which that simplifies to be 4/5. So note that on a line, it doesn't matter which 2 points on the graph of the line we use, the slope is constant. It's the same slope. And a slope of 4/5 means between any 2 points on the graph of the line, if I start at one of those points, I'm going to rise by 4, so I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I run by 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get to another point on the graph of the line. So in summary, there are 4 types of slope. A positive slope corresponds to a line that rises from left to right. Think of it as going uphill, right? It's going up, it's being positive, it's going up. A negative slope is a line falls from left to right or going downhill. So being negative, it's going down. And a slope of 0 is a horizontal line. And an undefined slope is a vertical line. Think about UV, undefined vertical, 0 horizontal, right? The O's, however you need to think about the 0 for horizontal.